Welcome to the All-Star Athlete Podcast, your guide to mastering the mental game and reaching your full potential.
If you've been listening to the podcast and you've found the episodes to be informative and or interesting, I encourage you to subscribe to the podcast. I will be releasing episodes weekly, so subscribing to the podcast is the best way to stay up to speed on when the new episodes are released and to make sure that you don't miss any of the content. Also, liking each episode, if you have in fact been enjoying the content, as well as leaving any questions or comments that you may have down below, also go a long way in supporting the podcast. So thank you so much for listening and enjoy the show. All right, so here we are, All-Star Athlete Podcast. We're here today with Jillian Herrmann. Thank you for taking the time to be on the show today. I appreciate you. We're going to get things kind of kicked off here. I like to do a little pregame segment, some fun questions, just to get to know you, break the ice a little bit, get to know a little bit about your personality. So we're going to jump right into these, and I'm actually going to answer them as well, just for, some interesting perspective, kind of have a little bit of back and forth here, and then we'll get into the kind of main meat and potatoes subject of our podcast today, being mental performance in sports, any mental struggles that you went through over the course of your career. I'll have you introduce yourself just briefly after we go through these questions, but let's get into it right away here. First question up on deck. If you had to dig a volleyball out of a pool of Jell-O or peanut butter, which are you choosing and how confident are you that you're going to get that volleyball out?
Now, that's a crazy question, but even though I love peanut butter, I'm picking Jell-O for sure.
Okay. What flavor?
Green apple.
Okay.
That's my favorite one.
You ever done any kind of like Jell-O wrestling? Any
No.
Wild college stories involving
Absolutely not. I wish. That sounds fun, but no, I haven't. But Jell-O seems much easier. I mean, yeah, it's not as dense.
Yeah.
You can see through it.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think I would probably have to go with the Jell-O as well.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably more of like a watermelon or strawberry Jell-O.
It's a good one.
Kind of a guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's probably what I would go with. The peanut butter would just be like
horrible.
It would be a disaster.
Yeah,
it would be a disaster for sure. Okay, second question. You are stranded on a desert island, but you get to pick one piece of gym equipment. Mm-hmm. So stranded on a desert island. What piece of gym equipment are you bringing to stay shredded?
I'm just trying to think what the island already has, You can probably makeshift some things on the island, but honestly, I'd probably just want 2 25-pound weights,
Okay, so very, very basic, very adaptable.
Yeah, because I feel like your functional movements, you just do yourself, and as long as you have some weights, you're able to maintain your muscle.
Okay.
So
all right.
That's my thinking.
Yeah, that works. I think for me, it would probably be maybe a kettlebell, probably kind of along the same lines.
Yeah.
You're going to want that piece of equipment to be very multi-purpose.
Right.
Like, obviously, for your cardio, you can probably do that by yourself.
Exactly.
Body weight stuff you can get,
Exactly.
I feel like a very standard answer might be like, bench press, or something like that. But I'm like, I guess a squat rack could be an acceptable answer too.
I think so.
If that was like if that counted as one piece of equipment, and you had like plates and stuff, like that would probably be also good. But yeah,
I don't count that as one piece of equipment. By the way.
Yeah, no. but so technically you answered 2.
I did. Oops.
We'll let it slide.
Okay.
We'll let it slide.
Good catch.
All right. Okay. Third question: what is your secret, totally non-athletic talent that would definitely surprise your teammates or anybody listening, for that matter?
I don't know. I mean, nothing admirable. I would say I can open a beer bottle with my teeth.
Okay.
It's kind of my party trick, but that's not that cool.
Okay. Okay. What is that like? How are we doing that? Like the canines?
Yeah.
Does that hurt at all? Like, or you just like kind of suck it up and yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're like, I haven't chipped a tooth yet, so it must be fine, right?
Right.
Any cavities?
Yeah. I've had a cavity.
Okay. I actually didn't have any until a few years ago.
Yeah.
Funny story. And then I went to the dentist and they're like, yeah, you have like 8.
Don't believe them.
I was like...
No offense to the dentists out there, but some of them lie.
I feel like they showed me on the x-rays and they were all very small. Mm-hmm. So reasonably like they had all been sort of slowly developing, and the previous dentist was just like, yeah, they're not really cavities, even though they were like kind of there a little bit.
Yeah.
And then this dentist had a little bit higher of a standard, I guess you could say, or was like, and technically there was some like corrosion there or whatever the term is, but I ended up getting them fixed anyways.
Yeah.
But
you got 8 filled?
I ended up, over the last couple of years, I ended up getting like 6 or 8 fillings, I think.
In one sitting or multiple
No,
visits?
Fortunately it was multiple.
Okay.
And it was actually kind of a nightmare. I ended up going to a different dentist. I won't say who the first dentist was, but I ended up going to a different dentist because the first one ended up trying to, and I understand the logic, they tried to fill a cavity or two that they were trying to take like the path of least cost to resolve the issue, which makes sense. Yeah. So they tried to fill the cavity. It didn't work. It was like still causing me pain. And then I went back and they refilled it again a second time. Still didn't resolve the issue, and ended up having to go back a third time where they ultimately did a crown. And it was just not a great experience because they basically ended up making me feel like it was my fault.
Sure.
And I was just like, I'm literally coming here to have you resolve the issue. Like, don't make me feel bad that I have to keep coming back. And like, I'm not sorry that my tooth hurts. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. Like, I'm paying you to fix the issue.
Right.
So
it sounds like my last relationship.
Oh, really? Should we get into that story?
I'm kidding.
Probably not, but
probably not.
And anyways, ended up going to a different dentist, and I get a little bit of anxiety sometimes, which is, relevant to this podcast and just generally speaking, like sometimes it's just like generalized anxiety. And then when you're going to the dentist and they're numbing your jaw and there's like, they're going in there with drills. I mean, anxiety at the dentist is a very normal thing for people that don't normally experience anxiety. Sure. But I ended up having them do 2, and then 2. Yeah. Like I split it up because it just fucking hurts to have your jaw open for that long, to be honest with you. Yeah. So anyways, that's kind of a little bit of a tangent, but it's okay. As far as secret talents that would surprise my teammates, I guess, I don't know if I would really say my teammates, but I'm a painter. So all these, well, not all of them, but the artwork in here, I did most of it.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Except the LeBron James piece, right? That one's not beautiful. We got a San Antonio Spurs fan in the house over here.
Beholder, but yeah.
Maybe I'll have to do a Wembanyama painting.
Wait till we get a ring.
Wait till we get a ring. That's fair. You think that's coming in the next 5 years?
I don't know. The lottery's looking good for us in this draft, so I don't know.
Yeah, didn't Stephon Castle just win Rookie of the Year? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And Wemby got it last year.
Yeah, and he probably would have won Defensive Player of the Year if he hadn't gotten injured, right? He had like a blood clot issue or something like that.
The thrombosis thing, it's the same thing Chris Bosh had.
Okay.
So,
but well, yikes, because that actually ended up ending Chris Bosh's career.
We're okay.
So, yeah.
We're okay.
We're not going to sweat it. Mm-mm. Okay, cool. So, I guess painting would be my answer.
Nice.
Next question is, if your pre-game playlist had to be entirely Disney songs, which one are you starting with to get hyped?
I used to really love Disney when I was little, but I've definitely veered off. I was a big Pocahontas fan. She was my favorite princess.
Okay.
So I think the Colors of the Wind.
Okay.
I loved that song when I was little.
Okay. I'm trying to remember. I mean, I'm like getting the jingle in my head.
Yeah.
When you said Pocahontas, I was thinking of the let's get down to
that's
business.
Mulan, which is my second favorite.
Oh, okay. All right. Wrong.
And that's a very hype song.
Okay.
Well.
I was Pocahontas. Okay. Yeah. I see. All right.
Yeah.
All right. For me, it would probably be, as far as like favorite Disney movies, it was either Aladdin or Lion King.
Okay.
Funny, or actually, side story. Lion King was the first movie that I ever saw in movie theaters.
Really?
Yeah, this was like in 1993 or 4, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that. And I don't know, Phil Collins is just a beast. And I believe he composed the majority, if not the whole soundtrack for that.
Yeah.
So probably just any of the songs in there.
Yeah. They're powerful.
Particularly the one where he's like in the jungle and he's like growing up with like Timon and Pumbaa.
Yeah.
What is that, the Hakuna Matata song or something like that?
I think so.
Something like that. Yeah. Those would probably be my picks.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, last one, and then we're going to get into our mental performance discussion. So,
Perfect.
What is your go-to I just destroyed someone with a spike celebration move?
Oh, God.
And bonus points if it involves any kind of finger guns or sound effects.
Are you trying to get me fined like Jaw?
No fines for this podcast.
Wonderful.
Just throw a grenade.
Right. Pull out the bazooka.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think definitely just throw my hands in the air and just look around, celebrate with my teammates. That's usually how it went.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like whenever I've watched volleyball, like there's not a lot of like shit talking or like celebrate, or is there?
It's passive, especially in indoor.
Yeah.
You're across the net. The hitters at the front of the net are yelling.
Yeah.
And
you're like screaming.
There's chirps involved. I think when I played, it was illegal to talk to the other side of the net, but you can definitely talk to your team.
Yeah.
But about them.
Yeah.
You know, which is what we would do.
What if you like, you know, spiked on someone's head, or not literally, but like scored a point on them, and you're like looking at them and you're like, yeah, like screaming, like, is that?
I think
kind
it would
of
be
like,
lame for a ref to like card you for
Really?
that, but I think technically that's illegal.
Okay.
But it happens, and we've all done it.
Okay.
So.
Now, before we get started, just because I actually don't know, how does carding work in volleyball? Is that like a yellow card, red card, like soccer kind of a thing?
It is. It's you get a yellow and then you get a red. Is your second
Oh,
penalty.
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's exactly.
And
the
what
same
do
thing.
people get like penalties for? Like touching the net, or like just
No.
bad sportsmanship, or
Sportsmanship.
what? Oh, okay.
It's usually what I've seen. I've seen coaches get them.
Okay.
Players throwing a fit, they get them.
Okay.
I don't know.
Like-
it's not that common.
Yeah.
But
how would you get like a straight red? Like what have you ever
probably
seen that?
just decking a girl.
Like
That would give you a
getting
red.
physical. What if you like
Probably.
chuck a volleyball at somebody's like face?
For sure. I would
That would be
think
a
that
red?
would constitute a red,
Oh, okay.
in my opinion.
Okay.
It's a very non-contact sport, so
Sure.
any contact, yeah,
Yeah, and that would just like you just get like ejected basically.
probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Actually, so I guess I've never played volleyball before. Although, since we're on the topic of volleyball, I am going to play later this afternoon some
Yes.
beach volleyball. So I'll have to think about what my celebration move is going to be.
Yeah.
Although it's
Let it come naturally.
Yeah, it's a co-ed like beach volleyball, like beginners.
Yeah,
Well, there's beginners and intermediates, but like
There's etiquette
Yeah.
that's involved in co-ed.
yeah, I mean in any sport really.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
But I think I'm less there for the competition as I am to like socialize and have
of
fun.
course.
Like everybody wants to win, but I'm also not going to be like shit talking. But to be fair, as far as that goes, I usually don't start shit talking, but if somebody shit talks me, like I'm not going to back down from it. Like I will reciprocate, but I'm usually not
As
the
you
one.
should.
Yeah, I'm usually the type of athlete where like I just let my play do the talking.
Yeah.
And like honestly, a lot of times when people shit talk me, it like motivates me to play better. And I usually just like don't say anything. I just like, you know, but then if I like score on you, like I'm probably going to say something.
For sure.
Yeah.
Chirping is encouraged in my book.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, cool. So let's get into kind of our main topics here regarding your volleyball journey, your injury, who you are, where you're from, what you're doing right now, all of these kind of things. So if you could just start off by introducing yourself, tell us a little bit about your background in volleyball. How did you get started? What role did the sport play in your life? And kind of moving on from there.
Sure. So I started playing volleyball when I was 12. I'm from a small town in Texas, and I just started playing club, did my middle school teams all through high school. I played club volleyball at the University of Texas. I loved it. It was the perfect balance of competitive, but I still was able to go to a big school, have the big school life and that experience. And I was playing all indoor, some beach here and there. And then I had a crazy injury unrelated to sports, and that definitely set me back. But yeah, that's kind of my background. And now with volleyball, I play sand here and there. I used to play quite a bit, but in the last year, I've kind of slowed down. But definitely still lead very active lifestyle, and Yeah.
Okay. So do you care to talk about the accident that
sure.
took you out of volleyball?
Absolutely.
A little bit more?
Yeah.
Okay. What happened with that?
So I was in a horrible car accident in January of 2021. It was leading into my last semester of college, where I broke my femur, my L2, my L4 in my back, and my hip and my elbow. So quite a bit of injuries there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was something that obviously came out of left field.
Yeah.
Nobody really expects for that to happen. It wasn't like it was an athletic experience injury, like a torn ACL or something like that. And when that happened, I mean, you probably went to the emergency room. I guess
immediately.
It goes without saying.
Yep.
Did you think that you were ever going to be playing sports again, or what was going through your mind at that time, if you could remember?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first thing I thought of was definitely just quality of life, not necessarily sports. But sports being my entire life leading up to this event, definitely that thought came eventually. And yeah, I had surgeries immediately, and then honestly I had to figure out how to walk correctly again. And, my multiple injuries really did slow down my rehab. I was in PT for about 8 months, and my physical therapist even told me, you'll never be able to play volleyball again. It'll be a miracle if you can bend how you used to, pivot how you used to, and, you're just not going to be as fast and whatever. And so, yeah, that was very heartbreaking to hear, but also kind of lit a fire under my butt,
I was going to say, it sounds like maybe that you took that as motivation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because I don't know too much about you, but it sounds like you were really kind of taking the stance of oh yeah, you don't think I can get back to playing again?
Yeah.
I wonder if they do that on purpose, or if they legitimately think that based on the severity of your injuries that you're just not going to, and they're being honest with you.
I don't know. And that's funny too, because I'm an extremely competitive person. And I'm sure they could have picked that up on me. So maybe they're telling me that to kind of motivate me, but I don't know why. We all have these stories of someone telling you can't do something and then it makes you do it. So it's just, it's crazy to me that they would say that,
Okay.
But
yeah,
it worked. So I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, if you look at it from the perspective of somebody being empathetic and supportive,
right?
It's not a very supportive, empathetic position to sit here and tell somebody you're never going to do this again.
Right.
That's so defeatist.
Yeah.
And I feel for another person that doesn't have as much competitive drive and ambition and passion as you do, that they could just hear that and just accept defeat and be well, I guess that was it. I guess I'm never gonna whatever.
Yeah.
But now you're back to working out.
Yep.
You said you play volleyball occasionally. Yep. Are you doing anything else?
I snowboard regularly.
Okay.
I mean, obviously during the season, but yeah, I go a lot in the winter. I actually snowboarded 12 months after my injury, which was a huge feat for me.
Okay.
But I work out. I do everything I want to do in the gym. Nothing really holds me back. And I surf. I can run on the beach. I can do anything.
Okay.
Nothing stops me.
So are you limited in your mobility, your movements?
No, I have aches and pains, but
okay.
I'm not going to not do things I want to do just because I hurt a little bit or I hurt afterwards.
Okay. So it's pain after you're done,
Mostly.
Kind of aching, soreness sort of a thing?
Yeah.
And is that still improving? Because it's been, 4 years now since
4
the
years.
injury?
Yeah, 4.5. Yeah, I would say I feel it. It doesn't hurt as much when I'm more active, when I'm more of sedentary, on vacation or something, I do feel more stiff and achy. So
okay,
moving helps.
Yeah. So you're just like, if you're just sitting around, you kind of like tighten up a little bit.
For sure.
But if you're moving and active,
Yep.
it kind of loosens everything up and probably makes you feel better.
Exactly. I have a lot of metal in my body, so.
Yeah. What do you have?
I have a rod that runs from my hip all the way down to my knee with a bunch of screws through it.
Like titanium or okay.
Yep.
Did you have to get like hip replacement?
No. So my rod, there's a specific one. I do med device, so I understand. But like there's a...
Yeah, drop the terminology, please.
There's a rod that, it's called a nail, that goes into my hip that actually fixed my hip fracture as well. Because my hip fracture was low enough. Closer to my femur. So the nail helps with that.
Okay. Okay. So you said you work in med device sales.
I do.
Was that something you got into probably after the injury, right? Because you were still in college.
Yeah.
What did you major in?
Public health.
Okay. And you knew that you always wanted to work in like med
No,
device sales,
I really,
or what did you want to do with that?
I didn't know. I met a guy when I was in college who did it in Austin, and so he kind of piqued my interest. And then once I was a walking, living testimony of a medical device, which is, in my body to this day, it made me passionate about the industry, and I wanted to help patients, quality of life.
Okay, cool. So do you ever like drop that information when you're trying to like sell stuff to people?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like,
it's important.
sure. I mean, I feel like anybody that, depending on the industry that you work in, right? I'm a personal trainer. I kind of tell my stories.
Yeah.
I mean, even to the context of this podcast, right? And how I talked about, I experienced anxiety and depression earlier. I feel like it makes you more of an expert of something if you've been through it yourself.
100%. And the people that you're interacting with want to know that.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm buying something from someone, I want to know what their why is, why they're passionate about it. So I definitely like to share that.
Yeah. So funny that you say that. As far as, knowing your why, I'm actually reading a book right now. It's on the couch over there called, I think it's called Start with Why.
Yeah.
By Simon Sinek. You ever heard that one before?
I haven't.
So you just brought up the why terminology.
Yeah.
So when you were going through your rehab process, right, from all these crazy injuries, was that something that ever went through your head? Like, why am I doing this?
For sure.
Did you know what your why was?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
My immediate why during rehab was just to get back to what I was doing prior. I didn't want this event, which was very traumatic in a lot of different ways, to hinder my future. I wanted to be able to grow from it and not have it set me back. And so my immediate why was to just get back on the court or sand or, whatever, and snowboard and do whatever I want to do. So, but now, my why is just longevity, being able to do what I want to do for as long as I can do it.
Right. You didn't want to let that injury define who you are.
Exactly.
Which is kind of funny because it doesn't define who you are like in a negative way,
right,
but it's helped to add to the definition of who you are in terms of what you do now in med tech sales. So you kind of took that and turned it on its head and made it a positive.
Honestly, in a lot of different areas of my life too, not just in my career.
Okay. What else?
I mean, it's a lot, very deep.
Well, however much you want to talk about it, surface level,
absolutely.
or feel free to get into whatever you want.
Yeah. I mean, there's another facet of the accident. I lost a loved one, and I, just not only physically, but was in a lot of emotional pain as well. And so just going through all of that at once, I think has taught me a lot about myself and about others. And I mean, what I'm doing right now is sharing my story, and that's why I think I'm here, why I made it.
Well, I appreciate that you're here,
and
I appreciate that you have that perspective. I'm really sorry to hear about what happened. Obviously, the accident, it's terrible.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you had lost a loved one, so I'm sorry to hear that, first and foremost. And I want to thank you again for taking the time to be here and share your story, because this is really cool. We don't often hear about these kind of stories.
Yeah.
Social media is full of, happy, good stories. You look at anybody's social media page, for the most part, I mean, there are some exceptions, but I would say 90 to 95% of social media is like a perfectly curated story of somebody's life.
Yeah.
If I were to look at your social media, there's probably not much on there about this.
Right.
media, on the other hand, meaning the news, is oftentimes all the negative stuff.
Yeah.
So, you might hear about negative stuff on the news. I tend to avoid the news. I don't know how you are about that kind of thing, but it's really cool that you're sharing this story, because there's probably a lot of athletes that have gone through losing loved ones or injuries or rehab or, the mental struggles of whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so it's good to know that people have gone through this.
Yeah.
People can kind of form a sense of community around that. And if they're going through struggles, a big scope of this podcast is for people to be able to have something to listen to, reach out to. Future episodes might be people wanting to come onto the show to share their story.
Yeah.
Society at large is becoming a little bit more open about mental health.
For sure.
And I think that's really cool. It's not quite so taboo anymore. So you're a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think that's part of my purpose now, and exactly why I'm here, and I live to tell the tale, and, I'm doing great. So
yeah,
I like to share that.
Yeah. That's really cool. Also, what you said about how the injury and you're a walking example of medical devices.
Yeah.
And you turned that into your purpose to help other people, because you know that there's other people that need these devices.
Yep.
So obviously your job is what it is. You work a sales position and you're trying to make an income. And, we're both probably in a similar position with the cost of living and whatever. We live in San Diego,
Yep.
but at large, the cost of living is just ridiculous. So
Yeah.
to a certain extent, we're just trying to live our lives.
Yeah.
But it's cool, as I'm a personal trainer and a mental performance coach, these are things I'm passionate about. It's cool that you were able to find a career that you're passionate about through whatever avenue you ended up at that destination,
Yeah.
that you're able to take that passion and apply it to something that you do.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. As far as the recovery, you said that you got back to snowboarding a year after this had happened.
Yep.
And this was when your physical therapist previously, I don't know how, 8 or 10 months prior to this, probably you were going through the rehab process, said that you were never going to do any of this stuff again.
Yeah.
So how freeing was that for you to finally get back to being able to do physical activity?
It was awesome. I mean, I definitely was very reserved, learning to trust my body, figuring out where my head was at with all of it. That was a feat for sure, but it felt great. It felt awesome to just do something that I love again, because a whole year of my life was kind of taken away physically, just doing things that I enjoy and that bring me joy. And so, yeah, it was really, really nice to get back to doing that.
What was the hardest part about recovery for you? Was it the physical part? Was it the emotional part? Was
Both.
it the mental part? Was it equal?
Equal. A lot of my joy comes from moving my body and, being outside, doing sports activities, whatever it is. And so that was definitely hard, mentally, just not being able to do what I want to do, but also just the emotional piece of it all as well, healing mentally, emotionally, and physically, spiritually, all at the same time was a lot.
Okay. At what point during your rehab process did you feel like you were back to being yourself?
Honestly, like probably a year ago.
So it's
joking.
been that long.
It has. I mean, myself, we're ever evolving, aren't we? But
Sure.
But I mean, I was able to do things, right? Like within the 9-month, 12-month mark that I used to do, but I definitely didn't feel right.
You were limited.
Yes. Like I didn't feel the same, but I'd say maybe a year ago is whenever it all started to click again. And I felt just more comfortable, felt natural. I felt, more trusting of my body. I would say that happened like maybe a year and a half ago.
Okay. So prior to that, you were able to be physically active.
Yeah.
But you maybe had some thoughts in the back of your head.
Yep.
About re-injury, or maybe the pain was kind of overwhelming, even though you were able to move.
Yeah. I used to hold back a little bit more, where I was just, didn't want to do certain movements, or would think I can't do this, but, through rehabbing and also just putting myself in different situations where I'm like testing myself, playing volleyball, going down a hard run snowboarding, I'm like, okay, I can do this now. Like I'm back. And That's a big, I think, wall, like a wall to break down mentally. You know, you have to connect your mind and your body, which is something that doesn't just happen overnight, as you know. So, yeah, that took some time, but I feel like I've made a lot of progress.
Okay. So would you say that your mind and your body felt disconnected?
100%. Yes, I had to. I feel like that was a coping mechanism, you know? Just if I sat in my broken body, I wasn't able to heal emotionally. But because, you know, you just have to kind of do one thing at a time sometimes. You focus on your physical healing and then focus on your mental healing, or vice versa. And so I feel like now I've really married the two, mind, body, even soul, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Did you seek any outside aid in terms of counseling or therapy?
I did.
During this process?
I did.
And talk about the importance of that.
I did go to therapy, along with my physical therapy. I went to therapy for about, I would say like 6 to 8 months afterwards. It wasn't like a long-term thing. I really didn't want to, I felt like I gained, you know, my skills, and it was time to, you know, move on kind of. I didn't want to keep talking about the same thing over and over again. So, yeah, I only was in therapy for like 6 to 8 months, which I think it obviously really, really helped, but you know, it was time for me to move on after that.
Okay. And how's your mental health now?
Awesome. You know, I mean, in this time, so the accident, I was in Austin, Texas, and then I moved out here about 1.5 years ago, and moving here is, my quality of life has skyrocketed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And was it the medical device sales that brought you to San Diego?
I just wanted to move for the vibes, and I found a job out here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's good vibes over here for sure.
It really is.
Actually, the weather here is amazing today. It's been pretty bad recently.
I know.
We're in the midst of May gray. Hopefully,
as they say.
Hopefully we don't get too much June gloom this year.
Right.
But it's nice today, so I'm looking forward to being outside later. Mm-hmm. Myself, I've been trying to get outside and do a little bit more hiking, just checking out, you know, individually or with groups, you know, like meetups or whatever, like hiking trails, and then going to the beach. It's like people come to San Diego for vacation. Yeah. And we live here. And it's just so easy to go out and do these things, but it's also so easy because you live here to just like stay home and just be like, oh, I'll do it next weekend. Right. But then I'm like, I haven't gotten outside at all recently. Yeah. So it's like I made a kind of a soft commitment to myself. Like every weekend this summer, I'm going to try and check out like a new hiking trail or go to the beach.
Yeah, so, I like that.
Yeah, it should be fun.
I know there's days where sometimes you just need a day inside, especially if you just work really hard during the week. You need a Saturday or a Sunday to just lay, you know, and just kind of clean or whatever. I beat myself up when I feel like that because it's so beautiful and there's so much to do. And so I start making myself feel guilty for giving myself those days. That's something I'm working on right now. But it's a good problem to have. So
for sure. And I totally agree with you. I'm a very ambitious person. Yeah. I work full time as a personal trainer, and then I do mental performance coaching. Mm-hmm. I started this podcast. So I've got like a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. And I, am 100% invested in my physical fitness, my diet, right? I do a lot of cooking, meal prepping. Yeah. I see a therapist for various different reasons. So it's like I'm very busy. And then on the weekends, we're recording this on a Saturday. I do video editing. I do all the producing. I post on social media, etc. So I'm very like go, 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 go. Yeah. I don't like to be sedentary. Yeah. But I realize that it's a necessary part of balance. Yes. Just like you can't work out every single day. Right. You need to take some rest days. Yes. So I try to give myself that grace to like not do anything, especially if I'm feeling like run down. Yeah. It's like, okay, it's a rest day. Maybe I go for a little walk or something outside so I can still get a little bit of sun, but I'm not forcing myself to like go on a 3-hour hike or something like that. Yeah. So that's kind of how I treat that. Yep. But it sounds like it's something you're working on as well.
It is. Yeah.
Okay, we're at our halftime break here. Okay. So we're going to get back into some more fun questions.
They're all fun.
A little bit. Well, I mean, some of them, they're fun, but some of them are a little bit more serious, obviously. So these ones are a little bit more, get to know you, a little bit more free-spirited, I guess you could say. So first halftime question. if your recovery playlist, if you had one, had a title, would it be something like Inspirational Bops Volume 1 or Sad Girl Gym Slaps?
Oh, God. My recovery playlist?
Or whatever. Maybe it's your workout playlist. I don't know. Or maybe both. Like,
I mean, my workout playlist is like very rap heavy. I would say most of my playlists are, to be honest.
okay, which rappers?
All time, A$AP Rocky, Gunna, but right now I'm really into like West Coast stuff and Suicide Boys.
Okay.
I know.
All right.
I know.
Suicide Boys.
Yeah, they're coming very soon in concert.
Oh, are they? Are you going?
Probably not.
Don't lie.
I probably won't. I feel like that's just, it's a little dicey. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But
They're a little like, they're kind of like emo, aren't they?
that's putting it lightly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How would you describe their style?
Dark.
What's the genre exactly? I've heard it
They're
described. It's
kind
like,
of like, I would say like emo rap.
yeah.
Kind of. They pull a lot of their inspiration from 3 6 Mafia.
Okay.
You know,
Not
so-
familiar with 3 6 Mafia personally.
You've heard a few. I'm
Probably,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like rap. I like West Coast rap myself, but I'm more of like Bay Area, like
Yeah.
E40,
I'm listening to
G-Eazy,
Andre Nicotina. a lot
Andre
these days.
Nicotina, Mac Dre, I think.
Yeah.
Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg. These kind of rappers
Yeah.
are kind of on my playlist.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Eminem, but he's not West Coast, but
okay.
he's a legend.
Yeah. He can be. He's,
Yeah.
with Dre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's kind of what I would listen to. I don't know if I necessarily have a recovery playlist.
I don't have a recovery.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, no. I listen to music all across the board.
Yeah.
You
If I did have a recovery playlist, it would be a little bit more like chill, though. Like
Yeah.
rest and recover. Like,
Yep.
I like piano music.
Yeah?
That's kind of a fun fact about me is I actually used to play the piano when I was younger.
Why'd you stop?
My piano teacher retired. Which, yeah, I mean, that's an excuse.
No, that's fine.
It's valid, but it's invalid. I also moved around the same time, and I was like dealing with parental stuff, so it was
Yeah.
kind of just like it just
Yeah.
wasn't really meant to be. But I do
okay.
love piano music.
Yeah.
And I've actually thought about picking it up again, and I may at some point, just like a little keyboard or something. And
Absolutely.
like, did you ever play any instruments?
No. My stepdad is very musically inclined and would play. He was in a band and would play different instruments around the house, but I just never picked it up.
Yeah.
I really liked sports.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I now, obviously you wish you did. But
It's not too late.
no, it's never too late.
Get a little, what are those things called? Mandolins?
That's what he plays.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, we all did the recorder,
Yeah,
know.
of course.
That's easy. And I
Yeah.
can play chopsticks on the piano, but I
Okay.
can't read music.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I actually totally lost my ability to read music.
Yeah.
I could probably, if you showed me some sheet music, I could be like, that's a C.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's like one line below the, I don't even know what it's called, like the
The
graph.
stanza?
Is that what it is?
No, I don't. I made
You just
that up.
pulled that out of
I
thin
did.
air.
I did.
Anyways,
I feel like that's right, though.
that sounds about right. But yeah, piano would probably be my recovery playlist if I had one.
That's wonderful.
Okay. Which one of your friends/teammates would be the absolute worst physical therapist, and what would they do wrong first?
LOL.
You don't actually have to name drop, but
No,
you can
name
if
drop
you want
her.
to.
My bestie, Mary. Shout
Okay.
out, Mary.
All right.
I think she would not. She's just so nice and so empathetic. If she was my physical therapist and I was like, "Ugh, my leg hurts, she'd be like, okay, you're good. Just sit. She's not going to be like, come on.
She's not going to push you to get better, necessarily.
That's not correct to say because she totally wants me to get better, but she would just be so understanding and so nice about it, Whereas, like, I'm the type of person I need someone to kind of yell at me and just say, like, do this.
Like, all right, let's fucking do this.
Right. Yeah, because we've been in a few situations together where maybe I needed her and she ran away, if you know what I'm talking about. Just stupid street
sure.
chirping
Okay.
at the bar, just chirping. And I'm
Okay.
like,
You're kind of down to, like, throw fists, huh?
whatever's necessary.
Have you ever been in a fight before?
Yeah. Not like a big one,
Okay.
just a little one.
Okay. All right. Did you throw fists?
It was more so just like pushing, hitting. I wouldn't say
Okay.
it was girly,
Okay.
It was a girly
It
fight.
was a dust up.
I have brothers though.
It was a fracas.
Yeah.
It was just
So.
okay. You have brothers?
I do.
Okay. Do you ever do like martial arts or anything?
I boxed for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Which one of my friends would be the worst physical therapist? I don't know. I'm a pretty big nerd. One of my best friends from grade school, we play video games online occasionally.
Yeah.
And he's like a tech genius, but he's not like physically inclined at all.
Yeah.
So I just think he wouldn't necessarily know what to do. He'd be like,
Yeah.
all right, like,
Fair
let's
enough.
go bench press or something. Cause
Right.
he's like,
And it's like, no, dude, my knee hurts.
yeah. I'm like, okay. Like I encourage him to exercise as I do all my friends and family, obviously being a personal trainer and just somebody
course.
that enjoys exercise, but
Yeah.
I just don't think that he would know what to do.
Yeah.
So that would probably be my answer.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. Who would win in a volleyball match? 5 clones of you or 5 of your best teammates from college?
Oh, no question. My teammates. Come on now.
What?
Yeah.
Where's your confidence?
Well, I know that I play a role, and, you know, it is one thing to be a well-rounded athlete, but my teammates are experts at their roles. I'm not an expert at every role.
Okay.
So
All right.
that's why I believe my
So-
teammates for sure.
So logically, basically, you're going into that with, you know, you're good at whatever it was that you were good at. What position did you? I mean, because you kind of rotate, right? In volleyball, or how does that work?
Yeah. I mean, you rotate, but you also like have a position.
Okay.
But I played in college. I played middle. I played outside and right side. I was front row.
Okay.
But
Because you're like 5'10". Mm-hmm. Okay.
yeah, I'm short. I'm
Yeah.
short middle.
Well, I guess short for volleyball players.
Yeah, I am.
What's the average height of a female college volleyball athlete?
Probably like 6'1", 6
Okay.
foot, 6'1".
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Y'all are a tall bunch.
very much.
Did you ever think about doing like track, or it was just volleyball?
I ran track in high school. I wasn't great though.
Okay.
I liked the sport, you know, hitting and the skill
Okay.
that volleyball required. Track was okay. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. It was just like, I mean, you're competitive.
Yeah.
And volleyball.
Which was fun, which is why I like track. I liked, you know,
Yeah.
you're kind of like a one-man deal. The gun goes off and you're just trying to beat everybody. But I liked volleyball, the sport of volleyball better.
Yeah. I guess in both sports, you're like competing against other people, but volleyball, did you like the team aspect of it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. For me, I mean, I never played volleyball. I played soccer.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to bet on myself, to be honest with you.
Period.
Like, I played midfield, and I was always one of the best players on my team. Like, humble brag moment.
Yeah. Go
I
for
think
it.
most of the time I was like winning MVP. I think some of that, you know, at the, you know, post-year banquet or whatever.
Yeah.
Part of that had to do with I had an older brother.
Yep.
And so if you have older siblings from a younger age, you're playing up to.
Yep.
So do you have older siblings?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know if you, sounds like you probably experienced something similar where it's like you kind of get thrown into playing like
Whatever
whatever they're
siblings
playing,
Yeah.
and they're bigger, stronger, faster than you. So it's
Yeah.
like you kind of just have to play that way.
Yep.
So then when you're playing against kids your age, you're like, well, I'm
who
better.
don't have older siblings.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Or maybe they did, but yeah, so I don't know. I'm going to have to bet on myself.
For sure. I appreciate that.
As far as, you know, soccer goes, just because like I played a lot of midfield too, which is,
Yeah.
and I intentionally played midfield because it's like, well, I can go up and score, but then I can also come back and play defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was a very like well-rounded position.
Yeah. Who's
So-
your soccer team?
Like who do I like now?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm a Lionel Messi guy as far
Okay.
as like in the GOAT conversation. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I like Messi. I'm not super passionate about soccer. My older
Okay.
brother's a huge Arsenal fan,
Okay.
so I keep up enough.
Okay.
But you know,
Yeah.
FIFA and stuff. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't watch a ton of, you know, high level soccer.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it just has to do with like the timing of when the matches are.
Yeah.
Like if you want to watch English Premier League or whatever, you got to get up and go to the bar at like 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like I've had friends that do that, but
Yeah.
I'm not that invested in
Yeah.
it. I played soccer and basketball in high school. I was better at soccer mostly because of height. Like I'm 5'11", so basketball, like I'm even shorter than, you know, the average height of a basketball player. For
Right.
men, we're talking about like, you know, average height being taller than 6 feet, certainly.
For sure.
So Yeah, but I like watching basketball more than soccer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And MLS is like so mediocre compared to the other leagues in the world. It's just like,
Yeah.
kind of hard to get excited about it.
So are you a Miami fan?
I do watch the Inter Miami highlights, though.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. That's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
But even then, I'm just like watching the highlights, you know?
Yeah.
So, okay. Next question. You have to name your beach volleyball team after your biggest guilty pleasure snack. What's the team name?
It's a good question. My biggest guilty pleasure snack is probably like French fries. Is that
Okay. It's
lame?
not hot Cheetos.
No. I'm not big on like sweets really, like candy or like desserts. I love like French fries with like Cajun seasoning and like cheese sauce, like
Is that a Texas thing?
animal style fries or whatever they call them.
In-N-Out Burger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that stuff.
What do they have in Is it Whataburger?
Yeah, it is Whataburger.
What do you like more, Whataburger or In-N-Out?
Why would you ask me this on the record?
Because we're on the record. People want to know.
I'm gonna get in trouble, but I like In-N-Out better.
Oh,
I know.
Mary's gonna be coming for you.
Mary lives in Denver, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, somebody's gonna be coming for you.
Oh, I know plenty of people who are going to be coming for me for that. But yeah, no, I like In-N-Out better. But Whataburger does. They have one item that I will die for is the honey butter chicken biscuit. That is it.
Okay. All right.
That's it.
Okay, but otherwise, In-N-Out takes it.
I like In-N-Out burgers better.
Do you like the fries?
Fries at In-N-Out taste like plastic, but I eat them still
Okay.
because they have all the other stuff on them.
Okay. What about McDonald's fries?
I don't eat McDonald's very much,
Yeah,
but I
me
think their
neither.
fries are good.
Okay.
And I like Chick-fil-A fries too. I like the waffle. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I must have. I hardly ever eat fast food, so
Slay.
I don't know when I ate Chick-fil-A last.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm a fan of waffle fries though.
It's too bad.
They're just like too heavy. They're like
See, I
they're
love
like-
potatoes.
They're like oily and like heavy. I feel like
I like
I don't
that.
know.
Yeah.
Okay, I like potatoes too, but and I do like the In-N-Out fries. If you haven't, if you feel like they're plasticky, try and get them. I don't know if you know that you can get them like
Crispy?
well done,
Yeah.
or the order that I give is actually called light well, which is like halfway between regular and well done.
Yeah, like medium plus.
They're like medium, yeah. So it's like they're a little on the crispier side, but they're not like potato chips.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good
and
to
I'm
know.
and I'm gluten free, so I get the burger not protein style. I don't like it protein style because they like wash the lettuce and it's all wet.
Wet,
And
right?
it's just like
Yeah.
soggy.
Yeah.
So I just get what's called a Flying Dutchman.
That's what I get.
I get Flying Dutchman
Yep.
and animal style French fries.
Beautiful.
All right, we're on the same page.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
one.
that's my go-to. Actually, usually I get 2 Flying Dutchmen, which is 4. If people don't know, it's a Flying Dutchman is, I think it's just 2 patties and 2 slices of cheese.
And I thought I get it with the grilled onion on it too.
You
No?
could probably order that separate. I don't think that's part of a standard Flying Dutchman.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe if you order Flying Dutchman animal style, it would come with the grilled onions.
Maybe.
And they actually use like a mustard. They like grill the burger in a mustard sauce.
Really?
Yeah, it's got like a tangy. So if you order the burger animal style, the more you know. Milkshakes?
Interesting. Cookies and cream.
Do they have that at In-N-Out?
I don't know, but
I think
that's
they
my
just have
favorite
vanilla.
milkshake.
That's actually funny because I just interviewed a guy. I think it was 2 episodes ago, Brennan Wheeler. He said his go-to milkshake was cookies and cream as well.
The best.
Yeah. Okay.
You know who's got a badass milkshake?
Who's that?
Crack Shack.
Is that a Texas thing?
Nope.
Is it Shake Shack?
Crack Shack.
Is that a California thing?
It's the same. I don't. Yeah. I think there's one in OC, but there's a few in San Diego. There's one in
okay.
Little Italy.
Crack Shack. I know there's a Shake Shack in Little Italy.
There is.
Yes.
But there's a Crack Shack.
Oh, okay. I don't like. Clearly, you can tell how infrequently I get burgers and or fast food.
And I applaud you for
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Taco Bell. Last question, then we're moving on.
Okay.
Taco Bell.
I don't like Taco Bell.
Yeah, me
I've
neither.
actually never had Taco Bell. I took one bite of Taco Bell maybe like 3 months ago,
Okay.
and that was it.
Was it a Doritos Locos taco?
Probably.
Okay.
I don't know.
Did you know that Nikola Jokic got drafted during a Taco Bell commercial?
No.
Yeah. And,
They didn't even air it?
No.
That's sad.
And to this day, he has never eaten Taco Bell.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
But I mean, he showed everybody. So.
Yeah. Did you see they won in overtime last night?
Yeah.
I'm guessing. You're probably following the NBA playoffs,
I am.
right?
Yeah.
I actually turned the game. Well, I wasn't really watching it, but I thought Oklahoma City was going to win.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like it.
So, yeah. But we'll see. What a talent for sure. Mm-hmm. Okay, last halftime question, then we're moving on here.
Sure.
If volleyball had epic player introductions, like professional wrestling.
Yeah.
Do you ever watch like WWE?
Okay. I like MMA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, like who's your favorite MMA fighter?
Well, I loved Conor McGregor.
Okay.
But he's kind of falling off right now.
Yeah, he's washed.
Yeah. I like Michael Chandler.
Iron Mike.
Yeah. Yeah. You know.
What about Adesanya?
I like him too.
Yeah.
John Bones Jones is good too.
Yeah. I think he's gonna have one more fight. I think he's
Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's got one more in there.
Yeah. I saw this thing. He's got 11 like fight posters on his wall or something, like promo posters, and he's got like one empty.
Yeah.
I just saw it recently. I think he's like saving it for his last like fight promo thing.
Yeah.
Be sick if he wins.
Yeah.
But yeah, if volleyball had epic player introductions like pro wrestling, what would your nickname be? And what would your entrance walkout like look like?
My nickname, I mean...
Did you have like a volleyball nickname?
It was like Jay.
Okay.
Boring.
Yeah.
When I was a freshman, they called me Lil J, which I hated.
Okay.
So we're not doing that one.
No? Okay.
No.
That'd be kind of a sick name though.
Lil J?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. I've coined myself like J Money.
Okay.
Which is
it's a good one.
Yeah, kind of. But like the song that's coming to mind right now would be like If I Can't by 50 Cent. You know that one?
I probably heard it.
Yeah, you probably have.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I like walking out to that, you know, but like I want like all the stuff, you know, picture like Conor McGregor walking out and he's got like 80,000 people behind him.
What do they call that walk?
I don't even, he's just.
I think there's a name for it.
There probably is, just that obnoxious. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never had anything like that. So if I get it one time, I'm going to do it big.
Okay, so it's If I Can't by 50 Cent? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, if I don't get copyright checked, I'll see if I can put that little clip of that in the podcast here. That'd be kind of sick.
Yeah, that would.
Or maybe I'll do it like at the beginning because it's our, walkout music.
True.
Okay, cool. Yeah. For me, I don't know. Funny thing is our initials are the same, actually. Mm-hmm. It's going to be wild if your middle initial starts with the same as mine. What's your middle name?
Let's say it on 3.
The initial or the name?
The initial.
3, 2, 1,
E.
A. Okay.
Vowels.
J. Yeah. Elena.
No.
Erica.
Nope. I don't know if I should say my full government.
Yeah, maybe not. Anyways, it would be wild, but we're both JH anyways. Yeah. People call me Big J.
Okay.
Which is like would be kind of funny if you were like Lil J and I was
yeah.
Big J. Growing up, one of my best friends' dad randomly named me Earl.
Okay.
Which is like the most random thing ever. I just like went over to his house and his dad was like, "Who's this, Earl?" And my friend, his name's Billy. He's like, "Yeah, Dad, and it's Earl." And I was like, "Okay,
stuck.
Sick." I don't really feel like I've had that many nicknames. Like Jay is just like an easy one. It just kind of rolls off.
Yeah.
Like pretty much everybody at work calls me like Jay. Like, "What's up, Jay?"
Yep.
So I don't know. Big J kind of feels like macho, I guess.
Yeah.
Lil J is kind of like low key, like Lil Jon kind of thing, or Too Short, or these kind of things.
Right.
I don't know if
self-deprecation.
Yeah, kind of like use it as motivation,
exactly.
sort of a thing. Like somebody tells you you're too small, like, oh yeah, like let me fucking show you.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Probably. Yeah, people call me Herbo or Herbie as well.
It's a good one.
My last name is Hebert, and Justin Herbert is
I know.
the quarterback for the LA Chargers now. Yep. So a lot of people see my name and they think that some people have actually thought that I'm he. And I'm like, not quite, but close.
You should just run with it.
Yeah, I actually was 2 Halloweens ago. I was Justin Herbert for Halloween.
Yeah.
And I still have the shirt. I wear it to the gym sometimes.
Yeah.
So, Herbo, whatever. It used to actually bother me that people couldn't get my last name right, but I'm just like, whatever. I just like run with it, like you were saying.
Yeah, just whatever.
Like if I'm going to get upset about something, it's not going to be that.
Right. Right.
Okay, here we go. So last couple of questions here. Or I guess the second half of the major portion of the podcast. I want to talk about the snowboarding again. Mm-hmm. So you ended up snowboarding a year after your car accident, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
Given how serious the accident was and the injuries were that you sustained. So what was that moment like when you realized your body could handle that level of challenge again?
It was liberating. It made me feel very proud of all the hard work that I put in during rehab. And it was honestly just I remember the moment actually. Like, it was really nice to just know that my body can go through so much and still perform. And I can still do things if I put my mind to them. And, and that did translate into other areas of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would say you're a super resilient person then.
Yeah, I think we all have it in us, just depends on how you shift your mindset after some setbacks.
I think a lot of people don't realize how resilient they are until they are forced into a situation where they must be resilient.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I didn't ever think about it, but going through something like that does change the way you think about yourself, about the world, about others. And yeah, it teaches you resilience. So,
yeah.
So
kind of speaking about that, when you went through the car accident, you got injured, you couldn't play indoor volleyball anymore. During that period of injury and recovery, what did you sort of learn or discover about yourself off the court? Did your identity shift at all? In other words, like from an athlete to somebody else, or what happened during that time?
Yeah, I would say one, just on the emotional piece of it all, I gained a lot of sympathy for people, just a lot more. I think it's hard to have sympathy for others when you haven't experienced things, And so, I would say like that changed a lot. I would say I feel like I appreciate life more. I appreciate my loved ones more. I appreciate freedom, my body, just especially as people, but women too, but everybody, you have issues with your body. You're self-conscious about something tiny, or you look in the mirror and you don't like it. But I have a new perspective where I look in the mirror and I'm like, my body's been through so much and I'm so grateful for my body. And, just because I don't like this or that, it's working. And that's all I can ask for, because, it could have all been taken away by something by centimeters. I could not be here or be paralyzed, just something else. So very grateful. That's been a huge shift in my perspective, is just being grateful and using every moment I have to the best that I can.
Yeah. Sounds like you've developed a lot of gratitude for other people and for your body and for the opportunity. It's like you almost feel like you were maybe given kind of like a second chance.
Yeah.
Where like to the point that you were just making, like you very easily could have perished.
Absolutely.
And by some miracle, by some grace, somebody watching out for you, or karma, or whatever you want to call it, like you were given a second chance. And so that's really cool that you're making the most of your life right now. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Did you use any kind of mental tools during recovery, right? So you just talked about gratitude, right? But when you were recovering, as far as like the scope of this podcast and mental performance, did you use any like visualization? Were you tracking your goals? Were you journaling? Did you use any mindfulness?
Yeah.
Talk to me about like mental tools or techniques that you may have used.
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely, first and foremost, got very in touch with my faith. I, just put everything on God, because we're not supposed to handle these things alone. So that was my number one tool. Second, I journaled. Yeah, I was journaling a lot, and just faith journaling.
What were you writing when you would journal?
Just really, when I started journaling, I was just kind of like, I know this is good and this feels good. So just very basic, just like kind of like a diary. And then it was just short. I was just trying to get into the habit of it. Just, I'd write whatever down. And then eventually it turned into just more deeper thoughts. And like, I really was kind of like going through therapy in my journal with myself, when you slow down and write things out, you are able to process slower and you're not distracted by other things going on. And so that really did help process a lot of my emotions and my thoughts.
Yeah. I think I've actually described to some of my clients before, and myself personally, I feel like journaling is a very good form of self-therapy.
For sure.
Where it's like no matter what you're doing, and I like how you described that you were just initially kind of like writing stuff down.
Yeah.
It's good to just get stuff out of your head.
Yep.
Because it's like floating around up there, and like it's easy to kind of bicker with yourself back and forth in your brain, or not really, be sure about what you're thinking. But then when you write it down, it's like you kind of give a body to it.
Yep.
You like create it in a certain sense, and you can see how valid it is or how not valid it is. And
Yeah.
you can write lists of pros and cons and see how ridiculous something looks when you write it down, and go back and I don't know if you've probably have gone back and looked at, months or weeks or days or whatever ago of your journal and be like, my God, like I was thinking that, or I was feeling that back then.
Yeah.
And I feel so different now.
Yeah.
It's wild to like go back and look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
that's really cool. So, mindfulness.
Yep.
Probably just being aware of your body and these sorts of things.
Yeah. Another tool I would say is being very intentional about, honestly, everything I do, and I still am like that. I think it's really important. You don't just mindlessly do things. I think everything should have a purpose and a reason why you're getting better or doing something, and being intentional really does. I think it forces you to make healthier habits, because you do look back and you think about the choices you're making, and is that leading to me becoming a better person or me being successful? Am I doing the right thing? And so that was another thing I, took advantage of during that time.
Just trying to be more intentional about what you were doing.
Yeah. Because like you said, I was given a second chance. I was given another chance. And so I'm not going to waste it and do things that aren't making me a better person,
Yeah.
So
if you could go back and sort of talk to yourself the week after the accident, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know a lot of things now.
Yeah.
And you learned a lot during the recovery and the rehab process about yourself, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. You learned a lot during the process.
Yeah.
We're able to sit here and have a discussion about what happened, and it's, hindsight is 2020. You learned a lot. Yeah. If you could go back and talk to your younger self, the younger version of Jillian,
Yep.
What would you tell her right after the accident?
I would tell her exactly. This is actually crazy, a crazy question. I mean, I would tell her that everything's going to be okay, and you've just got to stay focused, keep your priorities in check, lean in, feel what you need to feel. Don't run from it, but you're doing good. Keep it up. You've got a good head on your shoulders, and you're going to be just fine. And what's crazy is, like, when I was going through that, I remember this so vividly. It was maybe like 3 months after, or a few weeks, but I was looking in the mirror, and I just like had this overwhelming feeling that I heard the same sentiment I just said. But I just like felt it, and it was the weirdest thing. And that's how I remember that I knew I was going to be good, and I was going to be okay, and there's so much more for me out there, and I just needed to keep pushing, and I'll find it. And I had a huge breakthrough on my anniversary this year, actually in January, and I was walking down the beach with one of my best friends, and I realized that overwhelming feeling I felt that I was going to be okay was my version of myself right now telling her that, and this is the second time I've like voiced that to her. And I think right now is reassuring that past version that you're going to be good. Life's going to look good. I promise. Just keep going,
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So you feel like maybe you had kind of like an out-of-body experience
back
then, and then also I almost feel like you're getting like chills right now.
Yeah.
Kind of. It's kind of hot in here, but getting chills as much as you can, right?
Yeah.
Like,
that was cool.
It sounds like you maybe already had that foresight.
Yeah.
You seem like a very wise person. Again, we don't know each other that well, but from what I'm hearing you say, you sound very in touch with yourself and that mindfulness that we talked about, just journaling, meditating, maybe if you've done any of that kind of stuff, but you've worked on yourself a lot. You sound very like intuitive, in tune with your body and your mind. And so, it sounds like maybe in a way that there was maybe something supernatural kind of happening with the accident itself. And then, this future version of yourself, maybe sort of going back and talking to your younger version and encouraging yourself that it is going to be okay.
Yep.
So that's really cool that you were able to kind of have that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you if you're comfortable sharing any sort of social media on here, because people may be interested in connecting with you.
Yeah.
Whether it's med tech sales or about volleyball, you know, experiences, injury, recovery, rehab, or anything else that we've talked about.
Yeah.
So if you want to share, I don't know if it's Instagram or whatever social media platforms you're on, feel free to.
Yeah. I have Instagram at Jill Herm, 2 R's in Herm. And you can follow me on LinkedIn. I don't post, but if you want to connect and network, happy to do that on LinkedIn. It's just my full name, Jillian Herrmann. That's really it for social media. I don't have a whole lot else. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to plug anything else, the company you work for or anything? Like, you don't have to. Just
If you tear your ACL, call me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, because that's what you're like.
I'm in orthopedics.
That's what
yeah.
you specialize in?
I do.
Okay.
I work in regenerative ACL healing.
Okay.
So
Okay.
call me.
Well, I
We got
mean,
new stuff out.
ACLs are probably one of the most common injuries, right? Mm-hmm. I hear there's a lot of research going on, kind of on a side note, about ACL tears with women in particular,
Yeah.
having to do with like their cycle
Yes.
and like.
Well, I don't know if it's about the cycle. I think there's a risk factors to your tibial slope.
Yeah.
And women tend to have a larger tibial slope or something. And so that's
Okay.
a risk factor for maybe women. But also women are weaker and you have to have equal dominance in your quad and hamstring. That's typically how to protect your ACL. And so women tend to be weaker or stronger in one area. And so that's another reason why women tear their ACLs more.
Okay. Well, fortunately, weightlifting, weight training, resistance training for women is very much on the rise.
Yeah, it is.
For, you know, aesthetic, but also functional purposes as far as like warding off early onset osteoporosis, dementia, Alzheimer's, all these different things. You know, independence, right? Women are becoming more and more independent, like year over year.
Yep.
Just that's kind of the direction that society is going.
Yeah.
So that's really cool that you're working in that field. And then also, again, I'm a personal trainer. I have a lot of female clients.
Yeah.
And it's cool that more and more women are getting in the weight room, learning how to lift weights, building that confidence, building that muscle mass. It's helping ward off injuries as well as, you know, other mental diseases and so forth. So I actually just had a client, shout out Lulua, my client who just had ACL surgery last week.
Oh my gosh.
She tore her ACL, I think partially tore her meniscus and had like bone fragments or something.
Yeah.
She just started skiing recently and caught one, you know how you do like pizza and like French fries when you're skiing. So somebody like fell down in front of her and she like one of her skis got like crossed behind and like under the other one.
Yeah.
And then she like just fell over and the back leg just like.
Yeah.
Anyways, so she's one of those ACL patients. I've been checking in with her. I don't know if she had any hardware put in there or if
No, I don't sell hardware.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I just am involved in ACL repairs.
Oh, okay. Like the sort of tech or the equipment that they use to perform the surgeries?
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool.
I sell a biologic implant. It allows your ACL to heal itself. We don't have to get into the weeds of it. But
Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting though. We could definitely talk about that another time perhaps.
We can.
Okay. So as far as sort of wrapping up here, is there anything else that you wanted to discuss that maybe we hadn't?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I really do enjoy the opportunity to talk about this stuff because I do, like I've said 100 times, I think my purpose is to share and to be here for anybody who's going through something similar or has questions. I'm very happy to share my testimony and, you know, advise as I can or give any input. So, I'm grateful for you and I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, one last question then
Sure.
on that note. You've sort of been through kind of a full circle moment, right? You were an athlete, you were injured, you went through all that kind of recovery, and now here we are kind of talking about it again. You're as whole as you've ever been. A year ago, you kind of had that transformative moment where you kind of feel like you're fully back.
Yeah.
You know, what message do you want to pass on to athletes or younger people that are going through a similar journey to what you went through?
I think staying positive, trying to turn any setback or, you know, turning something negative into a positive. I think everything happens for a reason in life. And, you know, you could call that ignorant or whatever, but I think that it really is a mindset shift. You can find, you can get something out of everything that happens to you and turn it positive. Or you can choose the path where you feel sorry for yourself and you just sit because you hurt and you don't live the life that you want to live. And so that's what I would tell people is just try to turn it into a positive, learn something from it, get something from it, and come out better, because you totally can. It's just the way you think, honestly.
Okay, so maybe just kind of try to have like an ownership mentality.
Yeah.
Not be a victim.
Yeah.
Understand that things are going to happen in life.
Yep.
And it's up to you to kind of learn a lesson from it. And it might be a difficult time, circumstances for you to go through.
Yeah.
But see what you can do with that negative event, kind of to turn it into a positive, and how that can serve you moving forward.
Absolutely. But I also, on that note, think it's important to process your emotions and not to just turn them off and, go through it, but get something out of it that does, strengthen you or add a skill to your tool belt, something like that. So, yeah.
It's very difficult to go through these times, as you and I both have. And I think most people, certainly the longer that we live, it's very likely that people have been through some sort of traumatic, adverse circumstances. Yeah. I'd say 99 people out of 100, if not more, right? Life is difficult, adverse, difficult things happen to us, but it's what we make of them.
Absolutely.
And to your point, not to invalidate anybody's feelings or experiences. It's important to process those things.
Yes.
Whether we lost a loved one, we experienced an injury, we struggled with our identity because we had to move on from one thing to the next.
Yep.
It's important to process those things and not just like sweep them under the rug.
For sure.
That's going to come back to bite us later.
Yes.
But understand that those negative things happen and that's just life. And it's up to us how to sort of choose what we do with them and try to make ourselves better in the long run, because that's really the best that we can do.
Yep. I couldn't have said it better myself.
All right. Perfect. Well, in that case, we will go ahead and wrap up here. Jillian, I really want to thank you for taking the time to be here today and sharing your story. And perhaps we'll have another episode in the future. But until then, enjoy this beautiful weather today.
Yes.
And we'll catch you in the next one.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Bye-bye.